Drink, Driving and Flying by Terry Melia. The flights from Manchester to Queenstown, New Zealand were scheduled over 3 stops: Abu Dhabi, Sydney, and to a sober life in Queenstown. My Catholic guilt levels were on an astronomical level, but I was wealthy enough to run away from them in my supercharged car, or what was. But I still had the platinum credit card. No more the little boy confessing in the boot to the hidden priest and pretending to drop pennies that I didn't have into his confession box. I'd grown wealthy enough to dismiss all that David Copperfield crap. Swerve and confession. I'd booked them the morning after the crash. I wasn't running away. Heaven knows how I'd walked away from that wreckage. I just had to get away. I'd sworn 1,000,000 times on an imaginary Bible to never, ever again drink and drive. That was the escape plan. I'd spent the midnight flight to Abu Dhabi partly in a drunken haze and partly unconscious. Half a liter of vodka disguised as a bottle of water was a worthy travelling companion. Orange juice and ice supplied by obliging cabin crew, made for excellent pilgrims. After the 3rd shot, I'd slept a decent 4 hours and would have been more, but for my bladder screaming at me to make a move or suffer the consequences. A hazy guilt of a tyre screaming swerve, a crash into a tree, a child screaming, and the dying sounds of an animal swept over me. My mouth tasted like a baboon had shat in it. I had a little sense of smell apart from my own stink. Outside the nearest restroom to my seat, a small boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, held an ear against the door. He looked vaguely familiar. I looked round for a parent, but practically all the passengers were in a deep sleep. The cabin crew turned the ambient lighting down to a dim mood. The only sounds were the underbelly of the aircraft engines and sporadic snoring. I knelt down to speak to the boy as a huge jolt of turbulence dropped me to my knees, and the boy's face was touching mine. His eyes brightened into large pools of cloudy china dull blueness. His thoughts touched mine. My doggie's in there. Please help. He won't bite you. He can't walk. Another bounce of turbulence and a crash to the deck, bashing my head against the steel frame, and darkness. And now I was in Abu Dhabi airport, sitting in a wheelchair, being pushed past scores of passengers from every nation on earth. 100 meters ahead, the destination was clear, a red sign of a medical center. Looking behind me, a burly Arabian porter was wheeling me towards it. My passport, wallet, and travel documents were in a plastic zip bag in my lap. I checked the back of my head, and there was a painful fresh lump alongside the others that had sprouted up from the impact of the car crash, which was when? Yesterday? The day before? I had to stop and get free. Close inspection of who I was, where I was, and perhaps what I was running from meant 2 big J's, jeopardy and jail time. We passed a gents' restroom, 20 meters on, another gents, double entry and exit. I raised my hand and pointed urgently. The porter nodded and twisted the wheelchair. I raised a hand and said, "No, I'm okay. Please, I'm okay to walk." Resisting help, I stood up and swayed slightly. Took a couple of breaths. "I'm fine, really." The porter looked doubtful. He eyed me sympathetically, fatherly. I opened my wallet and took out a £20 note, passed it to him. He looked shocked. I took out another 20 and he shook his head and pointed towards the medical center. I rubbed my stomach and tucked the cash into his pocket. I gave him a thumbs up and I walked into the toilet and the lights went out. Darkness again. Fumbling, I felt for a light switch, found one. And then I was back on board the flight to Abu Dhabi. The ambient light was set to a low mood. The little boy was listening at the toilet door. He knew I was behind him, and he hushed me, the better to listen to the sounds within. I heard a low whimpering, followed by a keen wailing of a dog in agony. The little boy had levitated to eye level and whispered without moving his lips, "Why's my doggy got no legs?" The door flew open and I screamed when I saw the boy's head on a dog's body that was squashed like a pizza on the bulkhead floor.